I'd like to welcome you back to BeMoreNews.com, Part 3, with Lieutenant Colonel Bob Friend. Were you ever shot down?
Never shot down.
Okay. Did you ever have to jump out the plane?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How was that? What was that like?
Well, it was on that same day that we had all of the bomber crews that's stopping at our installation because of weather. When I was coming down through what's called the Udine Valley, I saw a straggler, and so they with the straggler as long as they could, which was until he got to areas that we considered him okay. He wasn't any longer in danger of being attacked and shot down. And then my cooling doors froze open, and the engine was going cold and cold and cold, and then I just lost it, and it was sleeting like the very devil. You know, I couldn't see the ground at all. And then when I went out of the aircraft, I still couldn't see the ground for a while. And then when I did see it, I thought, first I was very concerned about whether I was over the Adriatic or over land. Big difference. If I had gone down in that cold water, I would have had only a matter of seconds to get into that dinghy and try to survive until someone found me. But fortunately, I was over land, and when I could first see the ground, it was sloped, and I thought it meant that I was swinging, but I was afraid to pull on the cord to try to straighten it up, because I knew that if I collapsed that chute under those conditions, it probably wouldn't reopen. So I said, I'll just let it swing if that's what's happening.
Why did they call you guys the Red Tails?
Well, the Red Tail actually was because we were assigned by the 15th to have our tails painted red, which meant that when you had an assignment and you showed up, those bomber pilots could look out there and see those red tails, or in the case of the other organizations, the markings they had. And the 31st, which was first, had striped red, and 52nd had gold. Ours was red, and the 325th was checkerboard.
Did you have to go? Did you guys actually go to Tuskegee?
You mean to school?
Yeah.
No, most of us came from elsewhere.
But they call them the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, they called it Tuskegee Airmen because that's where we were trained.
Okay.
Now, the training actually took place in 2 phases down there. The school was under contract to do what was called primary.
That's the math and physics?
That's the first thing. Well, no math and physics. We concentrated mainly on those subjects that were akin to what we were going to do. And we had meteorology, we were worried about the weather, navigation, how to get where you're going, right? Aerodynamics, so you can have some appreciation for what's happening with the thing. Code, so that we could, because at that time they were also using Morse, so we had to learn that. We had to learn to send and receive 12 words.
Tough, smart, and good looking.
How's that?
You, tough, smart, and good looking.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What are you working on nowadays?
Well, I'm working on space products for a very successful organization called Stanford Mu Corporation, and what we do is to build units that have a key role in maintaining the environments in spacecraft. In other words, the pressures there's no way to get pressure up there otherwise unless you create it artificially.
You see mankind living on another planet in the future?
I'm sorry?
Do you think we will be living on other planets in the future?
It's a possibility.
You think there's life on other planets?
Well, those planets that are nearest to us right now, are lacking to a very great extent in the things that are necessary to life as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Water, for instance.
No water there.
Not enough. Is the evidence of water, and evidence that water may have been there at one time, but generally speaking, water.
And all life forms need.
And then you think in terms of heat. You also think in terms of the dynamics of the situation. Take Venus, for instance, and Mercury, where the temperatures are high and low, just out of this world.
Mm-hmm. So you got a book coming out.
And figuratively.
You have a book coming out?
I don't have a book coming up. I was writing a book on UFOs with Colonel William Coleman.
He's seen them? He's seen UFOs?
Well, we're trying to get something else together right now. Working with some of the people in the movie industry where they want to make a movie. Mm. So one of the gentlemen is a writer, and the other is a producer and director and what have you. So.
Okay. Well, we'd be remiss to ask you before we go in. We'd like to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. You certainly inspire me to get up and go to work tomorrow. But something for the young people, particularly young African Americans here in the DMV area, and beyond.
There's like to introduce a question, some information before I answer that question. And that is that people are of the opinion that Tuskegee, the program, mm-hmm. which was designed for colored people. Mm-hmm. And they say colored because at that time, that's the way they were referred to. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, for instance, one time there, the guy was trying to explain to the guy, you're more colored than I am because you change colors with various modes, and I stay the same all the time. Mm-hmm. And then he's pronounced Negro for him. Mm-hmm. He said, Negro. Mm-hmm. Now, when we had Tuskegee as the place designated for training people that were colored, that's the way it turned out. We had Indians, we had Chinese, we had Haitians, we had everything there, not just Afro-American. Latinos.
Non-white.
Non-white, exactly. Exactly. If the recruiter, whoever it was, couldn't have said that this person was white, he went to Tuskegee.
Okay.
Or if no matter how white he was, if he said he was black, he went to Tuskegee.
Okay. So the message to the children. What's the message to the children?
So the message to the children is that I think continue to work toward your own objectives.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't be too concerned about thinking of the way some people think, that I've got to go in this direction because, right? Because of race, because of religion, because of something. Forget that aspect of it.
Okay.
Now, you do what you want to do.
Okay. Now, you've been married. You're married?
I'm sorry.
You're married?
Lost my wife.
Okay. Any thoughts to young fathers out there, young husbands?
Yes, especially those that are returning from overseas, and we have a lot of people returning now.
Veterans of foreign wars.
Veterans of foreign wars, and in talking to some of the younger kids, let them know that your father may seem different when he comes back. He's been taught something entirely different from what he would normally have been doing if he'd been here. You know, you're taught to get up every day and go shoot somebody, or you're taught to protect yourself and actively protect yourself. And pressures develop, attitudes develop. And when they come back home, then some of them come back home to broken homes. Things have happened while they were gone. And so that's a consideration.
What keeps you going? Faith, God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha?
Well, there's one thing.
Love?
Yeah, that too. But I'll tell you one thing. I bet I've had as many exposures to different religions as anyone. Mm-hmm. I lived in a Jewish neighborhood, and I went to the synagogue. And my father was Catholic. My mother was Presbyterian. My grandmother was Baptist. My grandfather was so, and I've been to all of them. You know, and I never really and truthfully figured that I had to settle on anything. The only thing I had to believe was that there was a supreme being of some sort. You know, I have a friend, happens to be Japanese, wonderful guy, you know, and we talk about this subject sometime, you know, and he told me that he believed in science and religion. In other words, if he could explain it, it was science. If he couldn't, it was religion. And I didn't see anything wrong with it.
All right.
Right.
Anything else you want to say?
Anything.
Okay.
I just want to say that I thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think that a lot of people, you know, who didn't know anything about the fact that there was a black organization in World War II that was composed of pilots for the most part. But I would also like to say that in every organization, only about 1/10 of them were pilots. It took about 10 more people to get that one airplane in the air with that one guy in it.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And the other thing too is that I think that in the movie, I'm going back to the movie, you know, the people show them talking a lot on radio and so forth. We had some talk on radio. You can't stop it. Mm-hmm. But I'll guarantee you that it wasn't any greater in our organization than it was in any other. You know, I heard one time when a guy was flying P-38, which had 2 engines, and he was really and truthfully he had lost an engine and he was worried to death and he's making all kinds of noises. And somebody somewhere said, obviously a P-51 pilot, why in the hell do you keep crying about losing an engine and I left home with only one? You know, you get that kind of thing in the air. And, but we all realized one thing, and that was that if you clutter those lanes, you know, you just might miss an important bit of information because nobody can get through it. You cluttering up the doggone lane with clutter, this chatter.
Stop whining, in other words, huh?
Yeah, well, people sometimes run into strange situations.
Stressful.
We had one fellow that lived with me who used to sort of daydream when he was flying. Mm-hmm. He would drift away from the man he was close to, and one day he drifted so far out that the guy looked back and he thought he was coming to get him. So now he's screaming about his own man. So when this wakes him up, and he now tries to get back into the formation again. And then trying to get back into the formation, all he did was aggravate the situation. The guy kept running away from him. So this couldn't happen. And in the movie again, they showed a gentleman who they thought had been killed trying to escape, and then he showed up. Well, he actually got killed, and but there were so many of them that didn't get killed and did get back, either by evading the enemy for some amount of time behind our lines before it could get back to our side, or going into the prison camp and being released when Allied forces came and took over those areas. So he combined all of that in just like a one-person thing, and actually lots of people. Same thing with the missions. Mission on the train. For instance, that particular mission, we attacked the train, and we called it out beforehand that it was a decoy. It had been a decoy. We knew it before. Had seen it before. But the decision was, let's attack that train. Boom. So they went through one time. And unlike in the movie where the people ran out and pulled tops off guns and so forth, what happened was the sides of the cars just fell down, whoop, like that, and the guns were there, and guys were firing at them. Well, they didn't go back. Didn't go back because it didn't have a lot of value. What were we going to do? Put our guys in jeopardy to do something that nothing. All we do now is report it to intelligence. Train, so at this location and so forth is really nothing but a decoy. You go down on that, you're going to get shot at. And so, but he showed it as some guy breaking loose, going back, firing at the train and all that. No.
It's truly a pleasure.
Absolutely.
The one and only Lieutenant Colonel Bob Frank, Tuskegee Airman. Keep watching BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.